We can expect to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. back in the Blue Jays lineup soon, but unfortunately, we got a Ricky Tiedemann injury update, so we'll break that down on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as the game recap of the Boston Red Sox against the Toronto Blue Jays. So stay tuned for what's coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. We got some good and some bad news on the injury front to break down today, as well as a thumping of the Boston Red Sox. And some things just do not change, Nick. The Blue Jays continue to own the Red Sox, whether it be spring training, whether it be regular season. It's just a common theme. Common theme.
Yeah, and today's game, of course, was finally televised. Yesterday's wasn't, and the offense has just been unbelievable as of late. They went from being unbelievable early in the spring to ice cold, now back to unbelievable. But before we do get into that, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Your support's been unbelievable. But let's just get into the update before we get into the game recap today, and some good and some bad, like you said. And let's start with this update right here. So this is from Ricky Tiedemann. It came out from Keegan Matheson today, who is on site at the Blue Jays spring training camp. And it was kind of it was a bit of a bomb of a tweet because no one even knew what was going on. And it said the Blue Jays' number one prospect, Ricky Tiedemann, was dealing with left shoulder soreness and was shut down for a few days recently. He's been throwing long toss and should throw a side session Wednesday. And then he followed that up by saying that given that Tiedemann has been throwing again and is scheduled to throw a side session soon, I wouldn't treat this news too catastrophically. It's caution season, especially with the prospect as, highly touted as Tiedemann. We'll know more by Thursday. Now, of course this is bad news, but it could have been a lot worse. Obviously, he could have been shut down indefinitely. He's still throwing the ball, and it's looking like we'll know more Thursday, and we'll cover that for you, but it's looking like he'll be okay, hopefully, but not super encouraging sign to start spring training.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, obviously, you never want to see your star prospect and your future ace dealing with anything. But at the same time, you're going to treat him with kid gloves and wrap him in
Yeah.
bubble wrap the minute he feels anything. So as soon as he maybe felt a little pinch in his shoulder, the Jay said, all right, shut it down for a couple days. Let's see how you feel next week, and we'll go from there. So I don't think I'm not buying too much into it. I think it's just more precautionary, and especially in spring training. He's got a big season that's coming up for him. He only threw 78 innings, I believe, last year, and I think his workload is going to get ramped up quite a lot more this season. Probably around 100, 110 innings. I think we could expect around there for Ricky Tiedemann. So it's going to be a big jump for him, and I don't think they want to overexert him in spring.
Yeah, I agree. And again, the fact that he's throwing already means that this shouldn't be something that lingers long term at all. It's just something that will maybe hinder his amount of innings he gets in spring training. And again, I think
Yeah.
I think maybe Ben Wagner or someone mentioned on the show today that Ricky Tiedemann isn't going to be called up to start the season anyway, so there's no need to rush him and let him slowly get in. But we also have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. update, which is a very positive one. So this is great to hear as well. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. should be fine and return to the lineup in a few days after his base running went well. Sounds like the knee worry is just about behind the Blue Jays. And like I covered in yesterday's video, today was the second day that he ran the bases, and he felt good in the day before that. And today was the second day, and clearly he feels great and he's ready to get back into the lineup soon. I expect maybe Thursday, something like that. But any thoughts on that? I'm happy that this wasn't anything big because it could have turned out to be much worse than it was.
Great to see he's running the bases again. Just don't forget your bat when you come back into the lineup.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. So it's good to see Vladdy, being healthy, and we knew it was nothing. Same thing, like it was a precautionary thing, and he's been out for over a week now. So that just shows you that they're taking it easy on the star players in the spring.
Yeah, it's that time of year where there's no need to rush anyone. So it's good to see. And overall, hopefully nothing to worry about regarding Tiedemann, but we'll definitely keep you updated on Thursday when a update comes out. But that's the reason you haven't been seeing him. Realistically, today probably would have been the day he pitched. But let's move on to today's game, which was an absolute thumping of the Red Sox. And we'll start with the bats because they won 16-3, and it's just an overall unbelievable game from the bats, but it's the point of spring training now where this has happened so much that it doesn't even seem that crazy because it's happened so often. But I'll pop up the box score here and you can go ahead and have a look. Whit Merrifield went 2 for 4. Bichette, unbelievable game out of him. 2 home runs. He stays super hot. Alejandro Kirk had a phenomenal game. Brandon Belt is showing his veteran presence very, very early, playing phenomenal. And another guy I want to mention quickly is Kevin Kiermaier, who has continued to hit the ball extremely well throughout the entirety of the spring. And if he can do that, it's just going to be, icing on the cake. And then Addison Barger went 2 for 3 there. But who impressed you today, Peter? And, obviously, besides Bo Bichette, who hit the 2 home runs, which I'll show you guys
Yeah.
in a second.
Yeah, we were waiting for Bo to kind of have a breakout power game. He's
Power, yeah,
been
exactly.
slapping the ball all
Yep.
over the field.
Uh,
It was his first home runs of the spring, so it's nice to see him finally, get one and get the monkey off the back there. But everyone was good today. I mean, when you put up 16, what was it,
yep, 16
16
to
runs?
3.
I think
Yep,
six.
16.
Yeah, so when you put up 16 runs and you show good plate discipline and good situational hitting, I mean, Addison Barger chipped in a couple RBIs there, and one was against off a tough lefty, so he stayed in there on an 0-2 count, tough lefty matchup, and then he drove in a run. And I mean, Belt was good. He had a lot of good at bats. Alejandro Kirk looked very comfortable up there, like he didn't miss a beat. So I mean, it's good to see all these guys that we're expecting to do well this year do well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're looking for in spring training. And I'll pop up here and you can look at some of the more stats on the right. And Kirk is obviously hitting 1,000. Belt now, very impressive through 2 games, has yet to get out. He's walked a few times, he's gotten a couple hits. And like you said today, Addison Barger continues to impress, and he did play in the outfield. Now, he only got a couple of singles. One of them was a bases loaded one, but I don't know. He could be a guy, and we talked about it in our pregame show, that maybe sneaks into that fourth outfielder spot at some point throughout the season. I don't think he starts there, but maybe they're grooming him to be an outfielder. And yeah, and I guess we'll show you Bo Bichette's home runs now, because like you said, his power has not been there all spring because his average is super
He's been
high.
hitting doubles. He's been hitting doubles, and but
Home run
he's a guy
power.
that we expect to hit 25 to 30 home runs. And I mean, hopefully he can get it started with this.
Yeah, 2 of them, and I'll just show you the longer one. This was the second one. Absolutely crushed. And I'm gonna recommend that you guys go on Twitter and search it up for yourself to hear Ben Wagner's call of this home run. It was very, very electric for a spring training game, so you can go do that. But he also hit another one which you can go look at. But overall, very, very good out of Bo Bichette, very good out of the bats. And let's transition into the pitching, which honestly was also a pretty impressive today. No one too crazy took the hill aside from Alek Manoah, who struggled a little bit. And I'll start with that. What were your thoughts on Alek Manoah's outing today?
I texted it to you during the game. I think he's bored. I
Yeah.
think he just wants the game to start, the real games to start, and he's got nothing to prove in spring training. We know he's going to get the ball on opening day. We know what he's going to do for the Blue Jays. I mean, he had 5 strikeouts in 3 and a third, and I found it super weird that he left the game in the second inning, and then he came back for the third and the fourth. So I guess the rules just don't apply in spring training. The pitching clock does, but you can re-enter as a pitcher in spring training. So I found that super weird. But he looked good once he came back, and you saw he was just trying to do different things out there on the mound. He was testing out his curveball. His slider looked pretty good. He was just trying a bunch of new pitches, and I'm not buying into anything. I'm worried a little bit about Jose Barrios, but not Alek Manoah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And like you said, bored. He's results for pitchers, especially for ones that are established in the majors to some degree at least, don't mean a whole lot there. But let's look at some other guys. And let's highlight some of the people who necessarily aren't established in the majors. So Adrian Hernandez has continued to impress. He struck out
Yes.
3 through 1 1/3. He has pitched to a 0 ERA so far in spring. Nate Pearson, another very solid outing there. No hits, no walks, gave up nothing. Got a 1 strikeout. Tim Meza continues to do well, and Zach Pop. And one person I'm going to highlight now and show you a clip of here was Yasver Zueletta. And Peter, while I put up this clip, I'll let you express your thoughts towards him because I know you've been super high on him throughout spring, and we have collectively, and he's just continued to impress. And here's a clip of one of his 3 strikeouts as he struck out the side.
Yes, I've been super high on Yasser Zulueta, and I think the stuff is phenomenal. But before I get into him, I want to give a shout out to Adrian Hernandez, okay? Because not many people talk about him, and neither do we. Like we've been talking about the final bullpen spots that could be filled up by either Nate Pearson, Zach Pop, Yasser Zulueta, and we have not even given any consideration to Adrian Hernandez because he doesn't throw hard. He's a changeup specialist, and about 70 to 80% of the pitches that he does throw are changeups. And I have his grades here, his prospect grades. He's got a 45 fastball, a 40 slider, but a 65 on his changeup grade. So the scouts know that he's got an absolutely filthy change of pace on the mound out there, but he just doesn't throw hard. He's not one of those sexy, flashy prospects, and that's the reason why he doesn't get any respect. But he's been probably one of the best relievers and one of the most consistent relievers that has taken the hill for the Jays. And Pearson and Zulueta, I mean, what can you say about them? Their stuff is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's a good job shouting out Adrian Hernandez there, because no one's really talked about him very much, and we especially haven't. Because like you said, the
Yeah.
stuff doesn't necessarily pop velocity wise, but plus changeup, and he's someone who could have an impact on the Jays going forward. But yeah, that'll wrap up the game recap. A lot happened in today's game, but nothing too crazy. It's the point of spring training now where stuff is getting a little bit monotonous, a little bit not boring, but a lot of the hype is we're seeing a lot,
Boring.
a little
A
bit.
little boring.
We're
You could
see-
say it.
we're
You could
see-
say it. It's boring.
We're seeing a lot of the same prospects, but we'll still be having our pregame shows for you. Been really enjoying those. And tomorrow we play the Yankees at night, so I'll be doing the pregame show there. But support's been unbelievable, and Team Canada plays now in a few hours, so we're wishing them the best of luck. And anything you want to say, Peter, before I wrap it up?
Go Canada, baby. Go Canada.
See you tomorrow.